Happy Father's Day. Father's Day. Thank you for listening.
To all the fathers, stepfathers, and father figures, we salute you.
Happy Father's Day and thank you for your service. Happy Father's Day, thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
You work tirelessly. Many shifts, weekends, nights, and holidays.
Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, thank you for your service. Happy Father's Day, Daddy, thank you for your service. We love you. Mwah.
Happy Father's Day and thank you for your service.
You work hard to provide a better life for everyone.
Hi, I'm Elijah Brown, son of Detective Darrell Brown of Susquehanna Township. I wanted to wish you a happy Father's Day and thank you for your service.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you for your service.
Jansen, happy Father's Day and thank you for your service.
Your job doesn't end when your shift is over. You go home and often have additional responsibilities to take care of.
Hi, my name is Shayna Lacey. I am the daughter of Sergeant Lacey from the Susquehanna Township Police Department, and I want to wish all the first responders a happy Father's Day and thank you for your service. Happy Father's Day and thank you for your service.
Happy Father's Day and thank you for your service.
Hello, I want to wish all the first responders a happy Father's Day and thank you for serving us.
We know it's not easy, and we know you are exhausted. On Father's Day and every day, we want you to know you are appreciated and we are grateful to have you in our lives.
Thank you for your service.
Happy Father's Day and thank you for your service.
Happy Father's Day, thank you for your service.
Happy Father's Day and thank you for your service.
You continuously get up, put your life on the line, and rarely get a thank you.
Happy Father's Day. Father's Day.
Hey.
Happy Father's Day. Thanks for your service.
You are a son's first hero. You are a daughter's first love.
Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Thank you for your service. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Daddy. We thank you for everything you do for us. We love you.
Thank you and happy Father's Day.
Hey there, my name is John. I just want to wish you a happy Father's Day and I want to thank you for your service. Happy Father's Day to all your listeners as well.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Happy Father's Day to all the first responders. Thank you for your service. start the show. And we are here. We are live. We've been having technical difficulty. I apologize for those delays, but we're going to make it happen, and the show must go on. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm excited to be here. I hope you guys are excited to be here. We're going to have a very intellectual, emotional, intelligent, very leadership learning, very fun show coming to you tonight. This is Black and Blue. If this is your first time here, I appreciate you guys chiming in. Make sure you guys hit the like button on the way in, because I truly appreciate that, and likes are very free. I am your host. I am Coach Cleus, your motivational speaker, your empowerment coach, your author, and your favorite baker's favorite baker. I'm here on Black and Blue. We've been running strong on this podcast for over a year and a half. We've been doing podcasting for over 5 years now, but specifically for law enforcement and first responders right here. This is the show where if you're looking to learn more about law enforcement, this is where you want to be. If you want to see how we humanize the badge and show trainings and experiences and publications with different guests on the show weekly, this is your place to be. We go live once a week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So therefore, you see the website, it's in the comments section. It is not scrolling below. It'll be there momentarily. But if you're looking to come on the platform, check the website out and let us know. If you're looking to do voiceovers for the cartoon Sergeant Be Safe, you will see him coming through throughout the show. Go to the website, check that out. You know, there's so many different things that we learn on this platform. We have a lot of fun. We are streaming on 5 different platforms. So some of you may be on, we're on 2 on Facebook. So some of you may be on that. We're on 1 on LinkedIn, and we are on 2 on YouTube as well. So depending on what platform you are on, I may or may not see you, but I more than likely will not see you, because this platform does not show everything. But if you put something in the comments section, I will see it. This is a live interactive interview, so make sure you put where you're from and where your question or your comment or your name if you want the shout out. If you have a question, put that in the comment section and we will address that. I got a special guest in the background, and we're going to bring him to the stage momentarily, and we're going to have a lot of fun. We got to put some announcements out there. It looks like all of the video cues are frozen, so I may have to go back in, and it'll just be a long pause, but we're going to get it done. I'm having fun doing this. The website is workwithcleve.com. The website for if you're looking to be there, it is. If you're looking to be on the show, if you're looking to do voiceovers or anything like that. Also, it's the same website for our sponsor. Our sponsor is One Way Publishing. One Way Publishing, they can turn a mere thought into a book that's bought. I've written 5 books myself through them, and they also have a bunch of other clients that have written their books and made their dreams come true. Whether it's fiction, nonfiction, cookbook, strategy book, what have you. They can make that thing happen, and they have a lot of fun doing it. They're the pros, so make sure you guys hit them up. And let me see if this will play here. And it will not, of course not, because I wanted to play, so it won't. So stand by. We're going to bring this up on the stage here. Give me 1 second. I know this is reprehensible. Yep, here we go. Stand by. This is Sergeant Be Safe, talking about One Way Publishing. And it's not Sergeant Be Safe talking about One Way Publishing. Stand by. This would happen right now, right? And this one should be it. Publishing. Have you ever wanted to explain something, tell a story, or leave a piece of you behind? Have you ever wanted to write your own book, but not specifically know how to do it? Well, get ready. One Way Publishing's here. We can turn a mere thought into a book that's bought. People need to learn from you. They need to hear that story. Kids need to read that book. Imagine if you wrote your own children's book and get to read it to your kids. Here at One Way Publishing, we can get your fiction, nonfiction, fantasy, instructional, what have you, done. All at a reasonable price and definitely a reasonable time frame. And if you don't believe me, ask Sergeant Be Safe. He's working on his right now. He's definitely writing the best chapter of his life. Make sure you check out his cartoon skits that air on the podcast Black and Blue.
As Sergeant Be Safe said, that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
All right, now it's a little brief commercial for our one-way publishing. Challenge coin of the day. Challenge coin of the day comes from the Susquehanna Township Police Department. It's an older coin. Susquehanna Township since 1955. That's the front. You guys get a good look at that. And this is the back. Courage, honor, and integrity. I know it may be a little glare on there. That is the challenge coin. That is the challenge coin for today. Thank you guys. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls who have officially donated a challenge coin. Last week it was Apex. We had a lot of fun. This month of June, we've been been traveling. I told you guys we had the special Father's Day show. We saw the Father's Day clip in the beginning of this in the intro. Wanted to give a shout out to our fallen law enforcement officers in the process. Like I was saying before, this is the podcast where if you're law enforcement or first responder, we talk about your trainings, your publications, your experiences, and we're not going to leave that behind. We're going to move forward with that too. I got a special guest, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. He's been in law enforcement for 27 years plus. Currently he's a captain with his current department. He's also done 3 years with the Greene County Juvenile Office, and he's going to be in here talking about emotional intelligence and leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm going to bring him to the stage right now. Randal Moody. Randy, are you there?
I'm here, Clee. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for making yourself available. I'm very excited and very eager to get this interview started. But first and forehand, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, first of all, I posted online, and I've told you this already. I'm humbled to be a part of this. I've seen several of your podcasts, and some of the folks you have on have amazing resumes and histories, and so I hope I can live up to that bar that you set. And I appreciate the kind of things that you're doing for law enforcement and getting these conversations going. So yeah, I'm with the Aurora, Colorado PD. I've been here for about 27 plus years now. Currently serve as the captain, and I've been here in the academy, overseeing the academy for the last year. And I also oversee leadership development. It was something new that we started, and I also have the electronic support section. So I have quite a vast amount of responsibilities. But yeah, I've been here for about 27 plus years. I started at Greene County Juvenile Office, as you mentioned, in Springfield, Missouri, and did that for about 3 years before I moved out here to Colorado.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for giving us a resume on. It's a foundational piece. It gives our listeners an idea of who you are, why you're on the show, why you're qualified to talk about the things that we're going to get into. But can you talk about your current, you discuss your current responsibilities and your title. Can you give us a little bit more information on the things that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I promoted to captain about 3 years ago, and we had an interim chief here, Chief Oates, last fall, and we discussed a leadership development program. And I made the suggestion that we put another layer of command over our academy and incorporate a leadership development program. I think what we're seeing across the country is we're struggling with good leaders and leadership. Right. And what we were also seeing is so many people leaving the job that we were exhausting promotional lists. So we were getting people promoting with very little experience, and we needed to change that. So I had recently finished my master's from the University of San Diego, an amazing program in law enforcement and public safety leadership. I'd also attended public safety leadership course at Denver University, which was another eye-opening experience. And got remotivated to want to bring leadership to our department. Right. So before I moved out to the academy, we started developing leadership classes and leadership programs for the leadership that we had in our district. And I was just winging it, really. I was taking my experiences. Budgets are tight, so trying to send people to training was difficult. So we took some of our money. We'd buy books for people. I would require the sergeants and lieutenants and other leaders to come in. And we just did a full day. And we just kind of touched on a lot of things to include emotional intelligence. And then I convinced Chief Oates to send me to Talent Smart and train the trainer to learn about emotional intelligence and then bring that back to the agency. And so that was part of the leadership development program that we're creating also with Aurora. In addition to that, I sit as co-chair to our Force Review Board. I sit on our policy committee. I've held a lot of different leadership roles throughout the organization. I just in May passed 20 years as a formal leader. I was promoted to sergeant back in May of 2003. So I've had a lot of experience supervising veteran officers with a lot of experience and brand new officers, and led an auto theft task force that was a multi-jurisdictional task force. Served as the Police Association vice president for a little while. So I have the behind the scenes understanding of the politics that go in to those kinds of things. And so yeah, I'm blessed to have had kind of a broad experience and looking to take those next steps with this leadership stuff and emotional intelligence.
Gotcha. Thank you for that, and thank you for explaining all that. Before we get into the meat and potatoes, because I know that's what I'm excited to get into it. But for our listeners and those who are thinking about getting on the job, I also like to cover this question as well. Is there anyone who's mentored you or influenced you to get to the position that you are today? And if so, how did they do that?
Well, it's kind of funny when I think back to that. I probably could count on one hand the number of, it's kind of sad to say, the leaders that I had a lot of respect for. And some of that was my own personal journey of my low emotional intelligence, of recognizing, understanding what I was seeing, to be honest with you, if I'm being real honest with myself and self-reflecting. But I learned a lot about how not to be what I was seeing, right? And so I took the test about 6 years into the job, and it was both a combination of opportunity, because back then they were saying, oh, we're not promoting a lot of people, but this time we're going to promote a lot. So now's the time. Plus, right. I was seeing people treated, I didn't think, fairly, disrespectfully, and I didn't like it. So I wanted to move up and be there for those folks and be the kind of leader that I would want to follow, right? Mm-hmm. And so I did that. I was fortunate to promote at the time. And so throughout my career, I've had the ups and downs. And I will tell you, I've kind of gone through, and I think a lot of us maybe in law enforcement, if you're in the job this long and you see all the changes. For me here recently, I mentioned University of San Diego. It was just a couple of things that I did that kind of motivated me, and the instructors that I had that kind of mentored me. I talk about my good friend Paul Butler out of South Carolina. He loves it when I mention him. He travels the world now and does motivational speaking. And I saw him give a presentation on teams and leadership at the Daigle Law Group back when it was virtually during COVID. And I reached out to him, and he came out on his own dime and met with us. It took us a while, but we eventually got it to the point where he came out and spoke to our leadership, and then spoke to our entire department. So I was able to arrange for him through 4 different sessions, and you're talking about 700 cops to talk to the entire department. And so he's been a really good mentor for me through this journey as I kind of reached the pinnacle of the career, right? Towards the end, the light's getting brighter. You just hope it's not a train, right? But he's been very important to me. And then even going back as far as leadership goes, I've always kind of drifted towards leadership roles. And I attribute that to my grandfather, who was a retired major. He was served in World War II under Patton. And then my dad as well, who was a Marine, served in Vietnam. And even to this day, as a retired man, is probably the busiest guy I know working with veterans. And I just recently heard he's going to be inducted into the Missouri State Veterans Hall of Fame, if I've said that right. And so in October, so that'll be awesome. So
yeah, that's cool. Congratulations to him.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Is their grit in their military service, is that what gave you the burning desire to get into law enforcement and become a first responder yourself?
Well, that's kind of funny, because as I was reaching the end of high school, my grandfather, they all tried to convince me. My brother was in the military. I have uncles, a lot of family in the military, and tried to push me that way. At the time, I was a drummer. I loved music. I was drumming since 5th grade, and I wanted to go teach music. So I actually went to college as a music major, and and did that for like 3 years plus. And a couple of things happened. I had a college roommate that was a few years older than me. He went on to Kansas City, Missouri, and became a police officer. And then one of the girls in the marching band, her dad was the chief of police where I lived. So this was in Springfield, Missouri. And so I got to know him, and he had me do a couple of kind of internships in the summer at the police department. And so, I went up and rode with my buddy in Kansas City, and the first call out of the gate was a cutting. And we ran lights and sirens to that. And I remember telling myself, oh, this is what I want to do. This is incredible. And I wanted to kind of be in the big city. So I moved out here to Aurora. I literally moved here 1 week before the academy started. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know much about this place. But yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty scary, though, to actually up and move a week before the academy starts to an area that you're not familiar with, to actually take on a job that's going to spearhead the rest of your life. That goes to show that, getting out of your comfort zone worked well in your favor. I think that's safe to assume, because you're still going strong and you've solidified your stake in law enforcement in your current department.
Yeah, thanks. I look back on that thinking, what was I thinking? I mean, not very many people just go and up a move, but
right.
Yeah, it's been good.
Gotcha. And since I'm having technical difficulty, we're going to jump out to a Sergeant Be Safe cartoon commercial here, and then we're going to jump right back in. We're going to start off with leadership and development. All right. Let me see if this can work right here, and it will not. Stand by.
What up, Jackson? Let's get these bikes and join up with the crew.
All right, I want to try some stunts.
Cool. I got the camera. I'll record you as you zig and zag through traffic.
Okay, I'm ready to go whenever you are.
Hey fellas, I hope you don't plan on riding those dirt bikes on the street. That's illegal activity. You guys don't have the proper gear to ride. The bikes also need inspected, insurance, and registration.
Oh, I didn't know we needed all that.
You guys don't have a driver's license either. Sorry, fellas.
Everyone else does it.
Bad decision.
So, is there a place where we can go ride them legally?
That's a great question. Yes, there are. In some states, there's designated areas like tracks or dirt roads where you can ride them. Riding them on the public road is not acceptable, especially when there's careless disregard for other people and traffic and property. You can get hurt or you can injure someone else just for being a thrill seeker. Not only that, it's illegal and you could face a ton of fines.
Thanks for letting us know. We weren't trying to get in any trouble.
I'm just glad we were able to help before things got bad.
Remember, fellas, this summer's going to be hot, so let's make it an enjoyable one. And let's not get in any trouble thrill-seeking while riding these dirt bikes and quad runners. Captain Chaos and I are here to help, and that's your tip of the day. Get you on your way. And there you have it. Let me get this off the screen here. And we are back. Following that commercial break, starting to Be Safe in the Dirt Bikes, one of my favorite. We got some good voiceovers back there. Some of you may recognize the voices, others of you may not. Those local in this area may recognize the voice. I'm not going to totally throw them out there, but they make sure if you see them, give them their shine and their accolades. All right, but we're going to jump back in here. We got Randy Moody right here. We're talking about leadership and development. How important is leadership and development in the law enforcement community?
It's everything, right? Especially what we're going through. We noticed, Aurora certainly had its challenges, continue to try to overcome those. We're short-staffed, like a lot of departments. We've seen 300 officers leave our department since 2020, and we're a large agency, so we're fighting to staff positions. And also in Colorado, we have the fastest law enforcement. What's the word I'm looking for? Bill in the reform bill. Thank you. 16 days from the day of introduction to the day it was signed by the governor. 16 days. It attacked qualified immunity. It attacked use of force and those kinds of things. And it really kind of put everybody at a standstill. And a lot of people didn't know what to do. Even legal advisors weren't sure how we could navigate these things. So we saw a spike in crime. We saw a lot of people leaving the department. And it's during that time that, about that time, a friend of mine came down and became our commander in District 3, and I was the captain or the deputy commander. So we were teamed up 1 and 2 to run the district. And we saw a real opportunity to help everyone try to navigate this, right? we do this job for a reason. And if you're going to stick around and do the job, then we as leaders need to provide you with everything possible to do it. It could be something as silly as making sure you have the right cubicle and computer and the pens and the pencils and the keyboards, right? To understanding and bringing the right people in to explain the law, to debrief situations, to go over those kinds of things. So it's our job as leaders to step in, regardless of our own emotions and how we feel about what's going on, and help our followers navigate those troubled waters, if you will, and get through it and be successful. It used to be we were always worried about being shot on the job. I mean, that's a reality, right? It's always in the back of your head. Am I going to go home? And now what we're seeing is that's second to, am I going to be on YouTube or indicted or fired? And that's a crazy dynamic to me, that we're now worried about that more than we are, not that being safe, but you know what I mean? That is now the forefront in everybody's minds. So it is huge for us. And I think this emotional intelligence piece is the number one skill that we need to be teaching our folks. It helps them manage stress. It helps resolve conflict, and it'll improve communication for everyone. So I think it's incredibly crucial for us.
Right, absolutely. I know it's a shame that I've seen the tides change too in my career, where you're worried about, you're always worried about your six. You got your partner right here. You know, everyone's got each other's back. Last thing you want to do is get hurt yourself, or one of your buddies get injured and or deleted while working this job. So therefore, you fight hard, you train hard to make sure that you end your shift the same way you started, if not better. But now the game has changed, and you're worried about being on someone's live, being recorded, being on YouTube, and things being a small snippet of that incident, when the whole incident was grandiose, and they chop up that snippet and you get eaten up in court, or you're just, through the court of public opinion, you're just demonized.
Yeah, absolutely. And back during Ferguson, it was the concern you were just going to be all over YouTube. And now with these reform bills, we're seeing more and more officers indicted for. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty that need to be if they're acting inappropriate, but there are plenty out there trying to do the right thing and trying to do their job and make a mistake. Human performance factors, right? I think we do a poor job in this country of helping society in America understand human performance and dynamics. Our society is very forgiving of pro athletes trying to perform and making mistakes. And I see this example used, this metaphor, that you go out there and pro athletes, obviously those aren't life and death situations, but officers are going out, and everybody thinks officers are trained to this magnificent expertise level. They're not. You need more hours of training as a hairstylist in the state of Colorado than you do to be law enforcement.
Wow.
And even though we train more than the state requires, that's kind of mind blowing. That's what the priorities are. So I've said IACP and PERF, I think, and challenge those organizations to do more to get out there and let the world know what these physiological responses, these human performance errors that occur. And if we don't get in front of that, we're going to see more and more of officers being indicted for making failures when they're trying to do the right thing.
Right. And I'm going to jump right into emotional intelligence, because I believe it ties right in with leadership as well. Can you tell us how important and what exactly is emotional intelligence for those that may be jumping on the show right now?
Yeah, so when I started doing emotional intelligence, and you start hearing about that from law enforcement, it's kind of the new catchphrase, but I think it's so crucial. I think for some cops, it's, I'm not going to talk about my emotions. It's the same thing with wellness, right? I just rub some dirt on it and move on. It's not really about that at all. Your emotions manifest themselves in physiological responses in your body, neuromuscular, cardiovascular, the chemicals that are released, and all of these kinds of things can do damage to your body. So I think it's important from a wellness standpoint that we teach emotional intelligence. We've all seen the studies. Law enforcement officers, we die at younger ages, heart disease higher, suicides through the roof, and we need to give our folks the skills to be able to navigate that stuff. So the definition, and I talked a little bit about Talent Smart and their book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, is that research is based on Daniel Goleman. So I was introduced to Daniel Goleman a few years ago. I kind of considered the godfather of emotional intelligence. Came out, I think, in 1995 and created the discuss the 4 core emotional intelligence skills across 2 competences. So you have the personal competence that is the self-awareness, and then the self-management of that, and then the social competence of social awareness and relationship management. And then what you'll find in that book is the definition. I'm going to read it right here because I don't want to mess it up. Your ability to recognize and understand emotions, and your skill at using this awareness to manage yourself and your relationships with others. So going to this class and being able to bring it back to the department and talking about those different core skills across those 2 competencies, and understanding, for example, something as simple as self-awareness, understanding those triggers that get you ramped up, right? Somebody does something that really makes you upset, and you respond without thinking. We talk about that a lot. And then how do you control that, especially in our environment? Somebody's in your face, somebody says something, those kinds of things. And I think it's so important to teach our folks the skills on how to deal with those kinds of things. The one thing I really appreciated about the training, and I think it's important, especially for law enforcement officers, because it's these emotions that you have are in our DNA, right? We're humans, we're animals. And so we talk about every sensory that you have, everything you see, you feel, you touch, you smell, you hear, everything goes to the base of your brain, right? And then it works its way to the frontal cortex, your frontal lobe, where that's your rational brain. But before it does that, it's going to make this stop at your amygdala, right? In the limbic system. And that's your emotional brain. That's your fight, flight, or freeze. And I think when you explain it to officers to understand, this is not something you can control. This is going to happen. But what we can do is try to train so that you can learn the techniques and skills to recognize these things before you do something, that's inappropriate or out of control. And so these things are going to go to that limbic brain, that amygdala, and then it's going to go up to that frontal cortex where you can actually have rational thought and interpret it. And one example I like is, somebody jumps out from behind the door and scares you, right? And your first reaction is, whatever it is, right? But then you stop for a second and realize, okay, it got to your frontal cortex and you realize, oh, that was my spouse or my kid. Thank God I didn't hit him, right? That's a simple example. But another one I love is, another example is, we've maybe all done this. Somebody sends you a bad email and you start typing mad, and then you hit that send. And we talk about a reactionary gap. And the email example I like, because I had a friend that we used to always type it, right? And then say, hey, come read this. You may not want to send that, or you may lose your job. So creating that reactionary gap. So you're trying to increase the time before, while it's getting to your frontal cortex, so then you can react appropriately to whatever it is.
Right. That's smart. I like that. It sounds letting it get to your logical brain is the frontal cortex, like you said, I think is very important, because if you react on emotion or just impulse, then normally that's rash decisions are normally what you regret later on down the line. And so this is what you teach at the academy to newer cadets, or is this what you teach to current officers, or both?
So we're trying to incorporate this into a lot of things, right? So this is honestly new to me, really, when it comes to instructing it, having gone through this training last August. And so we've been trying to incorporate it more in the academy. So understanding these kinds of things when they're training, maybe they're doing scenarios and you stop them before, you're really ramping up that scenario. You're really getting the blood flow going, the chemicals going, and then you might stop them and say, what are you experiencing? And then how are you going to manage that? And the one thing that's great, I'm going to get a little off track here. The great thing about this book is there's a test in the back, the code that you can go online, and you'll get a great report on your strengths and weaknesses from those 4 core skills. And the book describes there's 66 different strategies that you can use to increase your emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is a skill that you can increase without getting too scientific. Scientists discover that your brain has plasticity and that the emotional intelligence part of it you can actually improve upon. So this is something you can actually work on and make it better. Whereas IQ and personality, the other 2 parts that make us up, those are pretty much set when you're younger. Those pretty much don't change, but EQ can change. So we can train people to get better at it and to respond to getting ready to go into maybe an apartment where you hear a lot of screaming and fighting, whether you're going to run lights and sirens to a call, and you recognize that I'm really breathing hard, I'm really ramped up. People are screaming on the radio. How can I maybe use some breathing techniques, self-talk, and how can I control myself so that when I get out of that car and I address whatever it is, I don't overreact.
Right.
And so doing it that way, we're incorporating into, we have a mentor program under our leadership development program. So incorporating emotional intelligence with our mentors and mentees. And then I've been able to hold one class so far in the department since we've done this. Staffing has been a huge challenge in trying to get people off the road to come in and teach the classes. But I use it, and I know others are using it just in conversations, coaching conversations, mentoring conversations, in briefings, things like that, and passing those skills on to folks. And one other thing to add to that, you can use this across all kinds of areas, and I kind of touched on most of them: training and leadership and the mentoring program. And one thing, and I was talking to Dr. Greg Campbell. So Dr. Greg Campbell, he may be listening tonight. He is the vice president of Talent Smart as it relates to law enforcement and military. So Talent Smart is doing a lot of push for law enforcement, and they're really what I believe, I'm speaking correctly, that Talent Smart was kind of a corporate thing, and then now they're bleeding and they're taking their materials and customizing them for law enforcement, right? So they're kind of taking it and applying it to our law enforcement profession and the things that we encounter. And so he runs that. And I was talking to him today about one place that we could use this better at is community policing. And I talked a little bit about educating our communities. We should take a role in that too in our departments, about educating the community about what our jobs are, what our roles are. We see this. We saw it in Ferguson. We saw it in places where there were poor relationships between the community and the police departments, and then you have a critical incident,
right?
And it blows up. You want to build those relationships beforehand, so that when you do have that critical incident, you've already built those relationships. And emotional intelligence is key to that when we get into talking about relationship management and social awareness.
Gotcha. And then, like you said, it's nice to have those practices in place before, not if, but when something bad does happen. That way you kind of get ahead of it and everyone's on the same page. Since this has been implemented, do you have any positive experiences, or have you seen the game change in your own personal world or in your department itself?
I've seen glimpses of it on personal levels. We got great feedback on the class that we did hold. And that was the more formal class where I actually taught the Talent Smart material that I was trained in. The other stuff that I was doing, I mentioned earlier, just doing it within our district, touching on those emotional intelligence things. We got really good feedback. And then I've used it on just coaching, bringing officers in, seeing officers that are really stressed about the job, don't understand why they're there. We work on a lot about explaining your purpose versus your plan. And this wasn't our plan to be the bad guys, right? Yep. But what is your purpose in doing the job? Something that Paul Butler talks a lot about. But that gets incorporated into, your self-awareness and self-management, and then just the social awareness, not just with the community, but internally too, building those relationships in-house. And so I've had some great feedback and what I would consider wins, where I walked away from that and it was a really good conversation, and they were very appreciative. And then you see them later, and they thank you again. And so I've seen that. I think I'm excited about what the opportunities are if we can really get this off the ground, when we can really start rolling it out and holding more and more classes. So I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Gotcha. And so we kind of segued away from it to talk about emotional intelligence, but the book behind you, Leadership 2.0, how do the two of those correlate hand in hand with law enforcement?
Yeah, so I came across this Leadership 2.0 from Talent Smart as well, and I just started reading it, so I'm not through it yet, but it's a similar kind of format I'm learning. It talks about leadership skills, adaptive skills, and then the next level skills, and where you stand on that. And it also has, I found, a code that you can do an online self-assessment, evaluate where your skill sets are. And then it also provides several different tasks or things that you can use, skills that you can work on, different tricks of the trade, if you will,
right,
to develop those areas where you might be not quite as high as you'd like to be. So I'm looking really forward to getting through that. But again, it's from Dr. Travis Bradbury and Gene Greaves, who started Talent Smart, and you can find videos of on YouTube of them. I that was one thing I did, was showed some of their videos when I was first just kind of piecing this together, and then learned about the book, and then kind of built from there. So they've got some great stuff online. You can also see Dr. Campbell's on some podcasts around the internet. I encourage people to go to talentsmarteq.com and check out that. And if you're interested in bringing the training to your department or your agency, reach out to Dr. Campbell. We talked today about how you can do that, and he's willing to work with any police department out there and work on bringing these skills and training folks in your department to bring it to the broader audience. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And shout out to Dr. Francia Donier Henry. She said, great book. She's very aware of it. I do know the Leadership 2.0 is on Audible. I know that for a fact. Like I said, backstage, I've been listening to it within the past week. I did not get to finish it, but just to hear the different stories or experiences of those that are highlighted, and the background information of what they give, their leadership strengths or things that they could work on personally, and what co-workers or employees think their strengths or things that they could work on as well, kind of brings things to the forefront.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good stuff. It's like we talked about when we started. It's stuff that is much needed. Yeah.
So stand by quickly. We will jump to Sergeant Be Safe, and we will jump right back to this interview, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We will be right back. And the computer does not want to work, but we're going to make it work today, right now.
Hey, bro, we got next game.
Bro, what's going on?
We got this pickup game we're about to get started.
I got a bag full of treats.
Come on, man. Don't nobody want your treats.
Treats? What kind of treats?
Vapes, pills, and drugs.
Whoa! What do you mean?
Don't tell your parents.
Looks like I'm right on time. What's going on here?
There's Sergeant Be Safe. I gotta get a picture.
Oh, man, Be Safe.
Treacherous Tony, we know you're up to no good. What's in that bag right there?
What bag?
Sergeant Be Safe, it's his drugs. He tried to sell it to us. Thanks, big guy, for letting me know. You're welcome. You kids get out of here. Treacherous Tony, drop the bag and come over here.
You'll have to catch me first.
Don't run, or you're gonna get tased.
All right. Taser, taser, taser.
All right. I give up. I won't do it again.
That's right. Your drugs will be disposed of. So put your hands up. You're coming with us.
I'm sick of going to jail.
Listen up, kids. Don't use drugs, vapes, or pills. They're not good for you. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
And we are back live in the studio with Randy Moody. Sorry, I have it saved as Randall.
Hey, that's why my mom named me Randall. You can.
But we're jumping right back into the interview. I hope you guys like that commercial with Sergeant Be Safe and the Taser. It was a lot of fun to make.
I'm looking forward to his book. You let me know when his book comes out.
Yeah, his book is coming out. The children's book, the first draft. I'm gonna tell you, there's been so many setbacks with that. I don't even mention it during the podcast anymore until I get the second draft done, because it's starting to get frustrating. But we'll table that conversation.
All right, very good.
Talking about new applicants or young adults who are getting out of high school, especially this time of the year, or getting out of the military or graduating from college. They're kind of have one foot in, one foot out, trying to get into this job, looking like, ooh, I don't know if I want to be first responder and law enforcement at all. If so, what kind of life is that going to in store for me? How does emotional intelligence going to play in? Because that's more of a key factor for this generation coming in, as opposed to when I came in less than 20 years ago, and I know you got a couple more years over me, so I know that wasn't something that was readily discussed often. But what do you think the new applicants should be asking? What do you think they should be doing? How do you think we can recruit to the younger generations?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's we talked earlier before we got on about doing this job or not anymore, right? Yeah. And I still believe it's the most noble profession, and I certainly believe it's even more noble now because I look at the folks that are still sticking around and doing this job, and they're the real heroes. It amazes me that men and women still go out and get in the car, and they're still going to these calls, and they're still doing the best that they can. It's impressive, and God bless them. So, folks coming in, I actually just had this conversation about a couple of weeks ago. One of my best friends that I met, my first friend when I moved out here, his daughter is just a few months older than my son, and she is now testing for our department. And so I met with her and we had a conversation. And so the same advice I would give her, especially as it relates to emotional intelligence, is in this job, you've got to know yourself. You've got to be able to employ these things, know who you are, what your ethics are, your integrity, those kinds of things, right? And know what's important to you and why you're doing this job. One of the things I do with our recruits on the first day is I have them get out a piece of paper and I have them write down why. Why are you here? Why do you want to do this job? And I tell them this is between you and yourself. You take that piece of paper and put it somewhere wherever you want it. You can throw it away if you want, give it to a loved one, give it to a friend. And then as the years move on, if you find yourself questioning why you're doing this, pull that thing out and remember why you're doing that and why you're doing this job. And I think that is important. So you have to have a network of friends that aren't on the job, right? We need to stay grounded because we can get too jaded if all we're doing is sitting around complaining about the job, right? And so you need to have that network. You need to have somebody that's going to give you real feedback how you're doing this, but you have to stay grounded in those things. And I'll tell you too, what I'm seeing, it's a harsh reality. We've had this discussion about guardians versus warriors coming into the job, right? And law enforcement, what should you be, a guardian or a warrior? I'm of the mindset you have to be both. And I think most folks that do this job understand that. But to be honest with you, I'm seeing some recruits that I don't know if they understand what that is, because we want people to be empathetic. We want people to go out and be able to handle those delicate calls and those delicate situations. But the harsh reality of the world that we're in, and we experienced it here in Aurora, you have an active shooter, when you have these cases that require a warrior response, or somebody assaults you and attacks you, you have to be able to have that in you somewhere. So you have to be more than we were when we came on. There's so many more requirements for social ills, dealing with homeless, the mentally, folks having mental crisis, those kinds of things are so much more than it was when we first came on the job. And so you got to be able to do all of it. And it's tough. This job changes you. I don't talk to too many people, but this job did not change you at some point. And you have to have those real conversations. I would tell people, if I was telling recruits now, go out, seek people that have been doing the job, get the harsh realities, filter that however you need to, and see if it's the best for you. And again, it's still the most noble profession. We need people. Like we said, when you and I are on the beach drinking umbrella drinks, I need to know that I can do that safely.
Yeah, good point. Good. You hit a lot of good topics. One is the job changes you. And I can tell, speaking of myself, I've learned to get that used car salesman kind of talk, the gift to gab out. Like we talk about, you're dealing with someone, and as you're waiting for information to come back, you learn how to bide that time or gather information just by having small talk. And I mean, that's a simple but necessary feature, just because sometimes I remember pre-COVID going to the grocery store and I'm standing in line waiting to go through the checkout. And just while you're just standing there, I'm able to have a conversation with everyone around me and not even know that I'm just having a conversation because I'm so used to it now.
Yeah. And when you talk about emotional intelligence with this stuff, you talk about the social awareness piece of it. A lot of officers get very jaded, and then they end up allowing that to affect how they communicate with people. And I was thinking about this earlier. One example was an officer's responding to a woman who got involved in a little road rage. Somebody threw a guy threw a can at her car or something. And so the officers are talking to her. And when you talk about relationships, there's three things, right? It's what's required of this relationship. So in this case, we got to take a report. We got to investigate a crime. And then it's the person's needs and then your needs. So my needs are to get the information and go on to the next call. This victim's needs are to be heard and make sure you get the information. And then they're usually wanting at least some empathy, some understanding, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm watching this body cam footage of this very interaction when we talk about social awareness and leaking this into what you have to be able to do. Mm-hmm. And so she's going on and on. Obviously, one of the worst things that she's experienced to these officers, probably a nothing burger, right? This is not compared to the stuff to be. But having that empathy to understand this is, whether I believe everything she's telling me, that she needs me to listen, she needs me to take this report. And I'm watching this body cam footage, and as she finishes her story, the officer's obviously disgusted, and the comment from the officer is, "What do you want me to do about it, ma'am?" And what a way to destroy community relations. What a way to destroy that relationship management that then affects us as a profession. And then you can take that exponentially and how that really reflect poorly on all of us. But if you'd have just done different and just, had that empathy, listen to it, ma'am, I'm sorry this happened to you. I'll take your report. We're going to do everything we can to find, even if you know that you're not going to find it, be honest with them. Yeah. And so again, so that going back to the recruits, be able to have that and don't ever let that get away from you, because when you get jaded like those guys were, and I knew the officers in that, and we had a long conversation, you let the job just frustrate you. And, there's still people out there that need us. And so you can't do that. We got to be better. And so that's what I would tell new recruits. Don't ever lose sight of that. Gotcha. And the second part of that question, and you kind of alluded into it, gave you the segue for it, is seasoned officers. Those who've been jaded, those who are the job's frustrating. They've been on for 15, 20 years plus, or whatever it may be, and they're just hanging on, riding it out till they see the light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully, like you said, it's not the train. What would you say to those guys that are still seasoned? They're kind of like, they've done the quiet quitting, and they're ready to go. They're hanging on for however long, or they're just sticking it out and laying low. What would you say to them to get them recalibrated, to remotivated into this noble profession we call law enforcement? Yeah, it's an easy question to answer because I've done it several times, but it's not always. You don't always get the response that you hope for. And I mentioned it earlier when Paul Butler talks about living a plan-driven life or a purpose-driven life. Mm-hmm. And a lot of this, and I've had to self-reflect too, why am I still doing this? Why do I keep coming to work? Right. And just because our plans change, and this isn't the job we started 20, 25, 27 years ago, why are you still doing it? And recognizing what your purpose is. And if it's not your purpose anymore, I've had close friends that have left the job, and I can respect that. Mm-hmm. Law enforcement changes. And you get into this job and you find a community that you want to work with because it meets what you believe in, hopefully, right? If that changes, if those things change and you decide I can't do it anymore, then I got to leave. And so you have to ask yourself, am I living a purpose-driven life or a plan-driven life? And so I've had this very conversation where I bring an officer into my office after listening to him just spew venom and say, why are you here? And he's like, well, I got to pay the bills. No. Why are you here? Right. Well, I get a paycheck. No. Why are you here? Mm-hmm. You can pass a P test. You have a good resume. You can get a job, maybe not make as much money, but why do you keep coming to work? And then the light bulb goes off for some of them. And then you start going down that road where, okay, well, if you're going to keep coming to work, then quit spewing the venom and let's work on why you're here and let's work on making you successful. But if you're just putting roadblocks up and not doing that, you're setting yourself up for failure on the street. You're going to go out there, you're going to say, what do you want me to do about it, man? You're going to go out there, you're going to create a situation where you're not in control of your emotions, and God forbid you use excessive force or any number of things. So you really have to take these veteran officers and ask them, why are you here, and really self-reflect. And sometimes it's go home and talk to your family about whether or not you can keep doing this. Because here's the thing, the silent majority, as we like to say, still needs us. Right. They still need us to go out and handle the calls and be there when they call 911. And if all we're doing is just pissed off because we're mad some legislator, Now, I will tell you the other thing that I've heard, and I think it's a valid concern, is that at some point, when does your purpose, it's not worth it anymore. In other words, yeah, that's my purpose. But as we mentioned, we see officers who get indicted for stuff when they're trying to do the right thing or they make a mistake.
Right.
And that's a hard thing to come back to. And at that point, you have to decide, is it worth the risk anymore? And I need to go because I can't do police work the way I used to do it anymore, or things have changed and I need to get out of it. But that's a real feedback that I've heard, that it's just not worth the risk anymore for that. So all you can do is mentor and be there and provide them the skills. And, the heavy is the head that wears the crown, my friend likes to say. So especially the higher up in rank you go, the more responsibility you have and the heavier that badge gets. And so you have more responsibility to help your people survive it.
Good answer. Again, you hit a lot of nails on the head answering that question. Absolutely. And I know through the course of the conversation, you kind of touched on community policing, and that's another topic that we get here in my local area, or we get sometime on the replay. Someone will ask, how come some departments don't do more community policing, or what is their definition of community policing? So while we're still live here, how important, I'll ask you it this way, how important do you believe community policing is for the community that you service?
Oh, it's big. We've had, unfortunately, several high-profile incidents that have made the news, and it goes back to those relationships that the police department has made with the community before they ever happen, right? Building those allies and those relationships, being, transparent is the big word these days. I like to say transparency doesn't mean expediency. So I don't want to rush to give information that might be wrong just to be transparent, because that makes the situation worse. Yeah. So, but community policing, some officers, community policing, this or that. It's as simple as it's everybody's responsibility, right? It's simple. We talk about procedural justice. To me, I think that's a big piece of community policing, just explaining to people what it is we're doing. Why are you arresting me? I'll get to that in a minute. Oh, why don't you just tell them? Those kinds of things. Even in those situations, building those relationships, again, emotional intelligence, that relationship management, the empathy part of it. But it's all of our responsibility on the front line. And then, of course, you have your command who goes out and does coffee with a cop, and we have our community policing units, and they go out there and handle ongoing problems. So all of those things are important. But again, it's on us to help our officers see the importance of it. And again, it goes back to self-awareness. If you're constantly just mad that you're here, that doesn't translate too well when they go out in the public. We need to help those officers handle that and change that.
Absolutely. You covered a lot. We're going to come right back. I'm going to break for a Sergeant Be Safe commercial. I hope you guys like this one coming up here too. Which one? We'll do the bar fight one. Yeah. And we'll come right back and jump into this interview. Stand by.
This is a good drink. I like this place.
I like it too. Mario, let me get another one.
Well, geez Louise, you guys each had enough.
Hey guys, don't you guys look nice?
Now you fools want to show off.
She's talking to me.
No, dummy. She's talking to me.
You want to see me outside?
I see you now.
They're fighting over me.
Hey, you guys need to break it up. You're wrecking my place. Hey, Sergeant Better Safer, I need you here now.
Well, I got a few pics of them. I'm out.
You foes knocked each other out. Megan, don't you live?
Like Popeye when it's time. Looks like we're right on time again. I don't understand why you guys are fighting. I just saw Megan leaving. Was it for that?
It's because she liked my profile picture.
We're connected. Insta-talk.
Sounds like she played both of you. Isn't that right, Kraken?
Sergeant to be safe. Captain Chaos, you guys saved the day again. You guys are the true heroes.
Thank you, Mario. We appreciate it. Once again, these two are going back to jail. part of their punishment is they're going to have to pay for all of these damages. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
All right, and we are back. Hope you guys liked that one. That was a lot of fun to make as well, and do the voiceovers and get that fight scene going on. But before we went to the break, Shayla came in with the topic about community policing. I wanted to bring the comments to the stage here. Just a simple explanation can go a long way, especially in the right moment. That is very true. That is very true. Yes. So we had a wonderful conversation. We talked about leadership. We talked about emotional intelligence. We talked about your background on you coming through, your grandfather, your father, you taking up music in college and getting the bug, moving to a whole different area, going through the academy, and now working with the academy, working with officers on how the game is changing with law enforcement and how much more is expected of us, but we are able, it's feeding us more to be able to supply the public with more options, more understanding, more empathy as well. Is there anything else that I may have forgot a question I may have forgot to ask you, or something that may have jogged your memory that you would like to bring to the stage, Randy?
No, I think we've covered a lot. I think it's, again, the talent smart EQ and the things that Dr. Campbell are doing. I'm not joke around. I'm not making any money off of this ad. I feel like I'm plugging a book. I'm not an author. I didn't write the book. But I think what they're doing for law enforcement, whether you reach out to them and bring it to your department through the talent smart, or you find other ways to bring it, I think it's crucial. I call it a game changer. I think teaching our folks emotional intelligence and leadership stuff and how that all incorporates it together. I think that is huge for law enforcement in our profession. So I would encourage folks to reach out and learn more about it. I told you when we first started, before we went on the air, that I hope that this just sparks an interest, because it did for me. Just in the classes that I went to, I learned a little bit more about it, did some more research, and really latched onto it and wanted to know more. So now here I am, trained by Talent Smart to teach it and hoping to do more of that.
Absolutely. I think we had a great interview. You shared a lot of information. I think it sparked more interest in me. I can speak for myself. I know there's other people that are currently on or that are going to watch the replay, and it's going to spark some interest in them as well to actually want to learn more, to make themselves better. I know self-aware, like you said, the old motto that I went by a couple years ago is self-awareness is sexy, because if you know exactly who you are, what makes you tick, you know, certain environments or certain places, you're like, I can't go to this place because I know it's going to trigger me. Or if you know yourself, then your partner and got males and females that you work with know who you are as well. And therefore, you know, we've been on similar types of calls like this. If this person does X, Y, and Z, I know Officer Tillman's going to be upset if it goes that way. So however, I'll take the lead here. And you work through the call and have a better outcome, as opposed to just reacting and just the raw emotion, the raw moment, and doing something completely stupid or something unprofessional in that 10 seconds of rage or whatever the emotional feeling is.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I was preparing for this, like I told you, there's so much we could do this for hours, just scratching the surface on all the different things. And I think the key takeaway too is that you can improve on your emotional intelligence. These are skills. This is a skill set that you can work on, recognizing these things, not only personally, but also socially, and building those relationships. So it's not something that you just say, no, we can't be any better than we are. No, you actually can, and the science shows that. And so these resources can give you a lot of different skills and things to do to make you better. So again, I encourage folks to reach out and find those things that'll help them and their folks much better in this job.
Yeah, absolutely. I encourage the same thing. Randy, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you donating your time, coming on the show. You truly blessed it. This information is invaluable. I'm looking forward to watching you flourish. Don't let us be strangers as we continue on our career here with law enforcement and through the show. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Black and Blue. We go live weekly at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes, a great live, absolutely. Let me get that comment up there. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
Yeah, she says thanks. But we go live weekly with a special guest. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. This is something. What did you want to say?
No, I said thanks, Shayla.
Oh, I'm sorry. The delay must have got me.
Oh, yeah. No, hey, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I love the conversation. We can do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be on. You guys, make sure you guys tag, like, and share. Stay tuned because we do have more things, more promotions, more special events, more experiences, publications coming down the pipeline. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Coach Clee, your motivational speaker, your empowerment coach, your author, and your favorite baker saying 10-4, over and out. And we're going to get you with one more. Which one are we going to do? We did that. This one. Yep. We're going to leave you guys with that.
Here's my chance. No cameras, no security systems, nothing. I'm about to own this house.
Rob, you blind. We know you're in there.
Oh no! It's Be Safe.
The house is surrounded. Come out with your hands up.
I'm not coming out.
Okay, I'm sending in Kraken.
Release the Kraken.
Dance with my dogs in the nighttime.
Ah! Kraken bit me.
I tried to warn you.
We'll get you the proper medical attention, but you're going to have to surrender and come out with your hands up in that house that does not belong to you.
Hold on. I'm coming out.
Don't be all day. We'll send Kraken back in.
My leg hurts now, and I have to go back to jail.
Well, this is what happens when you illegally enter a property that does not belong to you, also known as burglary.
Ooh.
And there you have it. Rob, you blind, you're coming with me. Hopefully you learn to respect other people's property and not break into homes. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.